The James Webb Space Telescope has certainly been one of humanity's most treasured and trusted tools. JWST has not only pushed our theories and ideas to the limits, it has also broken and made us reassess some of our fundamental beliefs. And recently, the James Webb Telescope has perhaps made one of the biggest discoveries of them all. With a new discovery of atmospheric gases such as methane and carbon dioxide, with a significant detection of dimethyl sulfide, which scientists believe that is directly linked to biological processes, we are now faced with one of the best candidates for life in our own galaxy. This planet that is in orbit around a red dwarf could not only change our understanding of life in the universe, but it could also make us realize that there's an abundant amount of life in the universe. Two things that I find to be so compelling about this discovery: knowing that a red dwarf star is one of the most abundant stars that exists in our known universe, and knowing that this star is so far away has given me some assurance that there's no cross-pollination of what perhaps created life on our planet. With this discovery, we could be looking at a completely different set of conditions that life could develop in. If that turns out to be the case, then we will have two sources of data to pull from. You will now have enough evidence to be confident that the people who are predicting an abundant amount of life in the universe are correct. I remember just a few years ago, we had no real proof that planetary bodies existed around other stars. We believed that they did, but it was only based on our understanding of what we saw within our own solar system. As soon as we were able to create sensors and programs that could detect light that diminished as a planet transitioned from one part of the star through the other, we quickly discovered that the majority of stars likely had solar systems of their own, with a wide range of planet types and moons. I truly believe as our technology develops and we create better sensors and programs, in a few short years, we will soon go from finding one or two planets with potential life to hundreds and then thousands, and frankly, hundreds of thousands. Human beings have a unique ability to create an idea or a concept in their minds and then turn it into actions that move through their bodies and spawn something new in the ether of our universe. When they work together, they are able to manifest the things they want and create lifestyles that they desire. If we discover that there is a plethora of basic and biological types of life in the universe, then we will still be left with one of the most important questions. Where is all the intelligent life? My basic understanding of the Fermi paradox is if we look to the universe and we consider the time that has elapsed and we plug in predictions and estimate the likelihood of intelligent life existing, even if we put a minimal number, we should still look out and see an abundant amount of intelligent life spreading and conquesting other parts of the universe. And the fact that we currently don't see other types of intelligent life moving throughout the universe leaves us with two basic questions. Is the reason why we do not detect intelligent life due to the fact that we do not have the ability or technology to detect it? Or is intelligent life extremely rare, and possibly it just hits a point in its development when it destroys its ability to spread throughout the galaxy? In cosmology, you commonly hear the question about a barrier that is either in front of us or behind us that would stop us or even other species from becoming prevalent throughout the universe. The barrier or wall would be something that technology or civilizations run into that ultimately leads to a civilization no longer pursuing the stars, or even much worse, their ability to destroy themselves. When I look back and I study the history of humanity and its civilizations, I often find cultures that at one point dominated and controlled the known world. But over time, those civilizations deteriorated and in some cases disappeared completely. Even our own civilization has at times come very close to destroying itself. When I consider the question raised by the Fermi paradox, I sometimes think that what might destroy us is not nuclear weapons. What might destroy us is our inability to work with one another and love one another. I often find myself thinking about that wall, that barrier. What could stop our own civilization from developing the tools that will allow us to explore the universe? As our technology has advanced, we are consistently turning to social systems that remove our desire to listen or empathize or relate to one another. What I find to be even more disturbing is not that our society is returning to a state of tribalism, it's that our society is returning to a state of micro-tribalism. Because as we reduce the amount of people that we could relate to, we reduce our ability to gain knowledge and grow and thrive. We remove the opportunities to learn, to find out about new ideas or concepts. Even today, when someone creates products or services that could help humanity, we are unwilling to use them. Even worse, some of us chastise, humiliate, or even threaten violence upon people that use products or services based upon our perception of the political intentions of its creator or the types of people who work at or function within a specific type of industry. We are no longer trying to get to know our neighbor and the people who we are directly in contact with every single day. It's much easier to get online and interact with people who you could relate to. Why connect to someone who doesn't even understand the world that you exist in? It's these concepts that will stop us from exploring and spreading out into the universe. Even the statement of exploring the universe becomes a controversial one because there are many people who believe that humanity colonizing space is not a form of exploration or knowledge seeking. It's simply the spread of a disease. If a portion of a culture or civilization starts to view other citizens more like an affliction or a virus or akin to a disease and something that needs to be eliminated or removed, then our destiny is one of destruction and killing, and not one of invention and growth, knowledge and wisdom and understanding. Perhaps the barrier that we will run into is made out of our own self-righteousness. Perhaps our Fermi paradox is distrust, resentment, equity, and maybe some form of tribalism justice. With all that being said, the reason I'm so optimistic when it comes to the future of our society and our culture is if I look back and I study the history of our country, we have often gone off track and at times even killed one another. But ultimately, we have been able to put our grievances behind us, forgive one another, and then move into the future together. My dad used to say the only way that your life can improve is through the hands of others. And the only way that you could help others improve their lives is through your actions. If we determine that life is abundant throughout the universe, my hope is that we no longer view each other as something different, but realize that we're all part of this pale blue dot, this little blue spaceship that we have all materialized from and that we will all dissolve back into. I think when we start to discover life on distant worlds and we start to realize that what makes them special is the batter in which they are baked from, they will be uniquely tied to the world that they originated from. And I think we will start to understand the things that make us diverse and different from one another are minuscule compared to the things that make us similar and unique and special to our own little planet. Regardless of how you feel about one another, when it comes to our planet, we're all part of the same batter. The only thing that changes is some of us have a little more spice and some of us have a little more sugar. One of my favorite biblical stories is the Tower of Babel. It's located in Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. It talks about God looking down at humanity and realize that human beings, when they have a common goal and they choose to communicate and work together, then not even the heavens are safe from their reach. When I read that scripture, it certainly seems like even God was threatened by the things that human beings can accomplish. The scriptures indicate that he tied their tongues with different languages, and then they could no longer speak to one another. Then they divided up into different tribes and then spread throughout the world. If we decide to separate from one another, and we choose to no longer create, innovate, and discover, then the fate of humanity might end up being defenseless against a species that either sees our civilization as something to be enslaved, or something that is just in the way of their own ambitions. The one thing that history has shown us is people were not enslaved because of their racial group or where they were located or their culture or civilization. They were simply enslaved because they were vulnerable. They did not develop the technology or the ability to defend their societies. I remember reading a story of soldiers that were in combat roles. One of the ways they were able to stay safe and ensure that they made it through the conflict was to have a battle buddy. What I find inspirational and valuable about that concept is having someone next to you whose job it is to ensure your safety and support you through some of the toughest experiences that you can't even imagine. Having that someone whose job it is to pick you up, knock the dirt off of you, tell you that you need to get your head back in the game and get back into the fight. Or having that someone who will pick you up and carry you out of the conflict when you're hurt and your mind and body have been destroyed. Having that someone who you depend on and that someone who depends on you. I certainly hope, as we discover life and new civilizations, and we boldly go where no human being has gone before, that we realize the people around us are not our enemies. Because if we were to discover beings that did not value our lives or our world, I think we would quickly realize that the people around you are your battle buddies. They would be the ones that you would depend on, and they would be the ones who depend on you. Please like and subscribe if you like the types of videos that we are producing. Please leave a comment. We would love to hear your thoughts on what you think it would mean if we determine that life exists on other worlds. We are also very excited about our new members-only area. We are developing the members-only area to be a way for you to connect with us and for us to connect with you. We're also using that area to not only talk about the videos that we are creating, the topics, but also the means and methods of how we are producing them. Thanks again for your support, and have a wonderful week.